This is WPTV.
Welcome back. In a galaxy far, far away, the Jedi are still fighting and Disney is still raking in that cash. With the recent release of The Rise of Skywalker, the announcement of a new season of The Clone Wars, and the slight possibility of George Lucas returning to the franchise, there's a lot to talk about. Joining me today is Nick, Thomas, and Mike. Thank you guys for being here.
You're very welcome. Thanks for having us.
So, first off, Rise of Skywalker. Have you guys seen it?
Yep. Yes.
That's quite a demure response. What were your thoughts on it?
Not my favorite film of ever. There were definitely some moments that I thought were fine. Visually, it was captivating. The music was great. Epic. On paper, but the story was flawed. The characters were all over the place. You could feel the behind-the-scenes tension on the screen, which is never what you want.
Yeah, especially like when we saw John Boyega go off after his contract ended on Twitter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could tell that was all happening, and they weren't. A lot of them were just kind of phoning it in. You can tell there were reshoots. Just like things didn't match up. There was choppy editing. It was just not.
Which makes no sense for this giant movie.
No,
Oh boy.
This big budget.
Yeah.
Important fan favorite.
Yeah.
Culturally.
One of the most
important.
culturally significant franchises of all time. Like, where do I start with this movie? I full on despise this cesspool of filth and feces. It's garbage. It's like, it just felt like after The Last Jedi, how divisive it was, they thought to themselves, okay, we need to win back the fan base. How can we do that? Let's put in everything the fans could possibly want. Let's bring back the Emperor with no explanation because Snoke is dead. Let's give Chewie a medal at the end because that needed to happen apparently.
And then let's have an emotional moment where you think one of the most beloved characters in all of Star Wars dies.
And then bring it back
and then
like
bring
the
it
next
back
scene.
because it's a switcheroo.
Let's have Rey just because she's the Palpatine's granddaughter, just able to use Force lightning. Like, what?
Accidentally.
That's not even how the thing. There's like trained Jedi and Sith Lords. That's like the hardest Force power to use, if I'm correct. I was like, this was like the first movie where I went with a friend, and literally in the middle of the movie, I know the exact scene. I literally turned to him and I whispered, "What am I watching?" Like,
Wow.
I'm like the biggest Star Wars fan ever. I love episodes 1 through 6. I love the prequels, like everything.
Yeah, they're good.
And this whole trilogy, like I was so excited for The Force Awakens. The Last Jedi, I didn't think it was as bad as some people were making it out to be. I mean, I had its flaws, but I thought, okay, I see what he's going with. This was just, it's a mess. The best thing, the best word I can use to describe this film is just desperate. It's desperately trying to win everyone back, trying to make everyone happy, and it's just a mess. That's all I can really say.
So a lot of people with that movie were talking about the relationships within it. I know a lot of people were pushing for Finn and Poe, and then there was the whole Reylo that happened.
Oh boy.
Do you agree with whatever any of that was, especially Reylo?
If I'm gonna be honest, I don't think most people go to watch a Star Wars movie for the romance.
That is true.
And honestly, the whole Finn and Poe thing, I completely forgot people wanted that. I just assumed they were just doing a bromance, which, I mean, I'm never against a bromance. And it's like, it just seemed like everyone was arguing in the film. All the scenes where we had Rey, Finn, and Poe on this, they were just all arguing with each other. It's like, are these guys friends, or are they just like sticking around for a ride? Like, oh, okay, let's just do this, and then once we're done, just go off and do our own thing.
That makes sense.
It's like,
sorry.
what? Oh.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I was done.
We have to talk about the next thing, Clone Wars. Did you guys watch that? Yeah, I can tell that you're excited.
Yeah.
So season 7 just came out. Thoughts on that? Let's hear from Mike.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
I've been thinking a lot.
He's been chilling.
So I'm not gonna lie. So Clone Wars, I don't know. I just never got into it. Like,
Heresy.
I'm sorry. It was just one of those things where it's like I was good with the Star Wars franchise as it was, with the exception of The Mandalorian. Like, I don't really appreciate the, in the universe of Star Wars, like outside stories from the actual series. So I don't know. Yeah, just for me, it wasn't for me.
But I think going off that, like, this is a good show to kind of get into that, especially with this season. Like, even if you're not into the stories, like, you gotta see, like, the animation, how far it's come, and just the look of it. The voice acting really came into its own, and it was kind of like a new sort of thing when it first started. Kind of looked like a PlayStation cutscene,
Yeah,
and now it looks like
it's beautiful.
like something like a Pixar movie.
All because of this brilliant man.
Yeah, Dave Filoni, he was, George Lucas's right-hand man. That's him.
That's our boy.
What a boy.
I think what I loved most about it is like a lot of people complain with the prequels and how they seem to be like going too fast paced, but this series really slows it down. My favorite, Anakin Skywalker, one of the best fictional characters ever created. Like you can really understand why he starts hating the Jedi Order and starts turning towards the dark side. It's so believable, especially with him and his apprentice Ahsoka, who's one of the best female Star Wars characters ever.
So, last question. Back to our boy George Lucas. It has been rumored that he is possibly returning to the franchise, trying to make a deal and but he wants total control of it.
Please.
Bull honky.
And you want it? No.
I want it.
Deferring? What about you?
Okay, all right. No. and here's why. So he waited how many years where he wrote 7, 8, and 9, and he just didn't go through with doing it, and he passed it up to Disney like, okay, I wrote it, like, someone do it, I don't want to be involved. All right, well, now that Disney's milking this thing for every penny that it has, he wants to hop back on board on it. And the other thing is, he wants full control, but Disney's already gone around and changed canon about, his world. So, like, is he going to change it back? Like, for example, like, the way lightsaber colors work, like, it used to just be, okay, you're good, you have green and blue. If you're evil, you have red. Mace Windu, exception Samuel L. Jackson. but I mean, like, there's this whole backstory now as far as, like, okay, you have a clear crystal, like, your presence and your involvement, where you stand in the Force, like, that determines that. Like, that's not what he wrote. Like, is he just going to change that?
Yeah. And also from a business perspective, like, so when Disney bought Marvel, they already had projects going, so it was very smooth. Now, they figured when they're going to $4 billion to buy Lucasfilm, they figured, okay, they must have some projects going on, something started. They had nothing except for 3 pages of what George Lucas wrote, 1 page for 7, 1 page for 8, 1 page for 9. So to think that he can come back after they revamped the entire canon
It's just a bit ridiculous at this point.
Planned all this other stuff that was coming
Yeah.
out. It's not smart business for Disney.
Plus, Disney's not going to be giving this up. But unfortunately, that's all the time we have for today. As always, there's never enough Star Wars to go around. With the Rise of Skywalker's triumphant release at the box office and many exciting Star Wars projects to come, we'll all be looking forward to what comes next. Make sure to stay tuned because up next, you'll get our theories for all the upcoming Marvel shows on Disney+.